what we might want to get out of this experience is to learn more about the lived experience of individuals who happen to be living near wells. And I'm sure it's something that a lot of us are familiar with, especially living in Greeley. But I think that this is a slightly different perspective to bring to the discussion. So this afternoon we have Megan Meyer, Lowell and Margie Lewis, and Patricia Nelson with us. And so I'm going to just turn it over to them to each introduce themselves in more depth and then have them talk a little bit about what their experience has been like here in Greeley.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone had a nice tour. Is this better? Yeah. Okay. So I was born and raised in Greeley, Colorado. I moved to Louisiana 6 years ago, and when I came back, it looked the same, but with a few thousand additions. And by what I mean is just driving down, or just driving around town, just seeing all of these wells everywhere. It's like they can't get enough of it. And you know, learning that the COGCC has never denied a permit, you know, it just goes to show that they don't really, they honestly, I feel like they don't care. It's all about the greed and how fast they can get it. Recently with the Bala Romero wells, that vetting program getting approved, that just really ignited my my passion to really be involved. So that's that.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan Meyer, and I have also grown up here in Greeley, Colorado. I'm a student at UNC, my last semester. I'm also a mom. I have 2 little ones. They're not here today. Probably would have been bored. Plus I don't feel like bringing them out to those sites. We see them enough. So I guess for me, just seeing the city change the way it has. Growing up here, I never used to just drive out. You could drive out to the country and you'd see all the agriculture. Now you drive out there and you still see the agriculture, but in between all that, you see derricks and drilling and all that stuff, everything you saw today. So the landscape around here has definitely changed a lot. I guess what got me into it a few years back, around 2011, when more drilling started happening here. My father had just got off the Evans City Council, and he was one of the few people that was like actively saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe there's impacts. And it was a little crazy because during that time, people would sometimes drive by our house and throw rocks at his house, things like that, when the industry was coming in. Fast forward a bit, having my children, I noticed that I was having more asthma attacks. I live near some of the neighborhoods we were at today. And my husband, sitting up here, he never had asthma. He had adult onset. He now has adult onset asthma. And I've always had it, but it's definitely gotten worse in the last few years. My son also has it. He's 2. He actually spent some time in the NICU a few weeks after he was born for respiratory illness. We almost thought he wouldn't make it. We do a lot more breathing treatments than we used to in our home. So I guess what really got me into it more than anything was just air quality. That's where my interest is at. How is this impacting the air? And right now, I am studying infant mortality rates in Weld County, and the biggest problem Weld County is experiencing when it comes to mortality rates is congenital anomalies and preterm birth. So babies are born early and then they die from complications of that. We do know that the ozone in Weld County has an F rating, and there have been studies all over in different places in the country on ozone and its correlation to preterm births. I know there's been a few studies here, they mentioned Lisa McKenzie earlier, that has been looking into different impacts on children, but there hasn't been as much on the mortality rates that I know of. So that's something that we're kind of trying to find more out about. I guess being a mom and looking at those statistics is just kind of scary, so.
Hi, I'm Margie Lewis, and I got involved about 2 years ago when Extraction proposed putting a site in our backyard, which we fought, and my husband will talk about that, but we lost, and we decided to stay involved because even though we lost our battle, we're hoping that we can help other people who are now beginning to fight the same things. My specific thing that I'm supposed to talk about today relates to what Dr. Moore was talking about, which is health issues. And I do have underlying asthma. I've had it for 30 years, so it was adult onset. And I got it when I moved to Colorado. Interestingly, from the East Coast, I just think the drier air was more difficult on me. But I probably have a case of bronchitis about every other year until this year. And now that we have had constant activity in the backyard, I have had ongoing, pretty much non-stop asthma issues. I've been on oral steroids 3 times this year instead of once every couple of years. I have seen the pulmonologist 5 times. I've seen my regular doctor. I had a terrible infection, skin infection, that put me in the hospital that I think may have been related to stress and the fact that I was already taking all these medications and my immune system was down. But I'm still involved because I care about other people being affected by it. And I can speak directly to health. It has definitely affected my health. Thank you.
My name is Lowell Lewis. Became actively involved right around the same time. I'm going to make a comparison. Actually, this boils down to Triple Creek, which is our backyard, 22 wells. It's such it's such a similar comparison to what Bella Romero will be. They're going to have 24. We have 22. It's the same operator, Extraction Oil and Gas, out of Denver. But worst of all, we have the same regulatory agency, the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. To us, that is, I mean, let's face it, Extraction is doing what it's supposed to do. It has a business model. Its whole purpose is to shoehorn into tight urban sites. What better place than really to be granted automatic permission to do so, and then to take your next level to the COGCC, who has, as was stated, I think accurately, never turned down an application. So, what's happened is that about a year ago, it came to our attention, something that we had strongly suspected, but we now definitely know. I have 5 stories about showing examples how the COGCC blatantly takes the side of industry. Blatant. I mean, it's just black and white. And you're not going to hear any of them. 3 minutes. But as a result of that, we decided that now we're going to lose the case, of course, and we did. The site right now, it's been drilled out, all 22 wells, been fracked, and they're now in the process of going through the final stages, 1 well at a time, which may take months. But given what we now know, we decided we are going to sue the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, and we have done so. That's another similarity with Bella, because we are both using second-year law students from the University of Denver who are contributing their time to us under the guidance of professors who are also practicing attorneys, and they're doing a wonderful job. So we are very happy with what they have done. Our battle is lost. Bella is not. They're getting potential help from experience from us. But we also hope that we're going to win some part of this battle. In fact, the judge has decided to agree with us in one of the 3 points that we are contesting. A second one is yet to be determined. The third one, he granted the COGCC that they met an exception. So something's going to happen. We really don't know. But basically, we want our, however tokenish our victory is in the court, we want that to help other people, other communities. There's so many people up and down the Front Range who are looking at the exact same thing that we are facing with extraction and other companies who also want to shoehorn in between houses. So if we can get some kind of a token victory out of this, even though we're going to have this crap in our backyard forever, then it's worth the shot. Thank you.
I'd like to open this up. I can walk around with the mic and play game show host for a second. If anyone has any comments or questions for our panelists, for Patricia, for Megan, for Lowell, and for Margie. So does anyone have any questions?
So I'm just kind of curious in terms of how long the process took for you guys when they kind of told you they were planning on drilling there to the point where they had started drilling. And how long did you have to even know like that?
In November of 14, okay, November of 14, we were called together as a community by the city to tell us that this is going to happen. At that time, Extraction told us that they would be providing a pipeline to take the product, the oil, off-site, and that we would not have to be instead relying on literally hundreds of thousands of round trips of tanker trucks over the 25 to 30-year life of this project. So a year later, they called us together again. So this is in November, so this is now September of 15, and told us, well, you know, the price of oil is getting kind of low and we can't afford it, and so sorry, no pipeline. So that's when we decided that we're going to form a group, Neighbors Affected by Triple Creek. We have been fighting it ever since, to the extent that, as I said a moment ago, there's no question that we had lost, but we're continuing it because we had a lawsuit, and it's going to be worth the pursuit. They actually they moved on site November of last year, so that's 16, and started, leveling, grading the site, doing preparation, doing the sound wall. All these things started in December, so almost exactly a year ago. Incidentally, I do have, for those of you who would like to see what a 22 well site looks like during the frack, I've got 3 of these. They're sort of hideously colored, but it shows you the size of the site. And I'm sorry to say that. But that's what you have coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want the mic?
I think I spoke with your
All right.
question is for the Triple Creek residents. And I live on 20th, not too far away from Triple Creek, and I go back and forth on 71st. And so I have been subjected to the delays, constant delays in the trucks. Have there been any accidents? I mean, I've witnessed several close calls, and I always wonder, when is witness?
Yeah, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that so concerned us when, after the project had first been turned down by the Greeley Planning Commission, then it went on appeal to the City Council. The City Council gave it a thumbs up, 5-2. And one of the things that we were most concerned about was the traffic on 71st Avenue. That's a very old 2-lane asphalt road. And right now we've got kids who are learning to drive, who are learning to find their way to school, and they've got kids chatting in the back seat, and that's our big concern, is the safety. Within about a week, I think one of Extraction's pickups had an accident right at the entrance. But I don't think anything has happened that I'm aware of that has been directly attributed to the amount of truck traffic. These huge trucks, again, it's a 2-lane asphalt highway, they actually have to drive all the way onto the far shoulder to be able to turn in and out of the site. So those front wheels are not even on the pavement.
Yeah, I've noticed that at the beginning, they had people monitoring the traffic, but
They
now
have
it's
flaggers,
not.
yeah.
You know, they're in and out, and so you could be driving up and all of a sudden there's a truck
Yeah.
that's coming out.
Yeah. 71st is a mess. I just talked to the city 2 days ago, and they will be both removing and replacing the sheep draw bridge, which is at the bottom of the draw there, and removing and replacing with a much larger highway all of 71st Avenue. That's going to start as of now, February, March, but at the usual extensions. But at that time, there will be no traffic going from 20th over here to King and Sucres on 10th. The only way in and out will be for local traffic, and they will have to go up to the top of the hill. They'll have to go south from the site. All of these trucks, incidentally, will have to go up that same hill. There's a 2-lane highway that's
Instead
under
of going
repair.
out to 30 to 10th, they're gonna go up on the 20th?
They're going to be going toward 20th from the bottom of the hill, which is going south toward Denver. They'll be going up that hill through neighborhoods.
Neighborhoods, yeah.
Neighborhoods, yeah.
Can I add something to that?
Yes.
Interestingly, when we talked at the city council, Extraction had no plans for how to evacuate the neighborhood if something went wrong. And we asked them about that, and they said, oh, well, we'll figure it out. And so that's the kind of response you have from one of the more responsible oil drillers in the area. They have no plan.
And I would also like to mention, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, the school board and the school district has no emergency evacuation plan if and when these 24 wells go into play. They have no, at the moment, the school doesn't have enough money for buses, so we don't have enough bus drivers. We need, John Gates told me we'd need at least 8 buses to remove all of the children. At the moment, it takes 6 minutes to drive from the schoolyard or the school bus yard to the school, but during the school year, the bus drivers have a split shift, which means no bus drivers are on site during the school, like during the school hours. So they don't have an emergency evacuation plan for the children at Bellevue.
How far are you from the site that we see on this?
About 1,000 feet. Yeah.
When you originally purchased your property, what did you understand were the circumstances about the oil and gas rights on your property and the property surrounding your property?
Well, we're kind of stupid. We didn't know anything about the oil and gas rights, but we had been told that would probably be developed into homes eventually, the fields behind us. And is it Richmore? They still say they're going to put high-end homes back there, which I find difficult to believe, but they've done that in Windsor, so it could happen. You know, right around the big oil thing.
And then also, what were the damages that you alleged in your lawsuit?
There are 3 things that we're contesting. First is that they did not do a full, robust search for an alternative site that would meet the needs and allow them access to the reservoirs that are 2.5 miles away from here, from Triple Creek. The judge granted them an exception on that one. He said that they did this and therefore that was close enough. So they won that case. That point. The second point, and this to us is the one that was the most important, is that the COGCC did not, they're supposed to, as a part of the protections of something called a large urban mitigation area, these are laws that were written by the COGCC in like January of January of this year. And we are actually the first oil and gas site on the Front Range to fall under those protections. One of those protections says, after you verify that there's nowhere else you can take this plant, that this is, you know, you've got to put it here if you're going to get to those minerals, which again, the judge gave them the exception on that. then you've got to use best available technology. So for us, best available technology means put in the pipeline what extraction originally indicated that they would do. They committed to it and then back down. So COGCC says, no, we don't have the power to force them to do that. As it turns out, COGCC decided after the fact, the price of oil goes back up, they built the pipeline anyway. I'm sorry, extraction is getting my bad guys. So extraction said, we are going to do the pipeline, and they did the pipeline. And they are now shipping product through that pipeline. But the point is that doesn't make any difference to our case, because we say that the COGCC should have required them to do that because they have to use best available technology. They did not require them to do that. They did it on their own, which sort of proves our point. If it was easy enough for them to do, inexpensive enough for them to do and make it worth their time, then COGCC should be able to see that as well, but they didn't. So that's the second point, and that's the one we won. So we prevailed on that. The third one has to do with a poor woman named Dawn Stein. If you live in Greeley, you know about Dawn Stein. She's right down at the bottom of 71st Avenue. The one and only access road into and out of that plant is within 30 feet of her bedroom window. Every monster truck that goes through there is by her window. And so the judge required additional oral arguments on that to be presented after the first presentation. He has not given us the ruling on that as yet. Problem is, we're going to prevail on at least one. Who knows what the judge is going to do? Well, our suit is against COGCC because they're the bad guys as far as this legislation is concerned, our lawsuit. What are you going to do? Withhold their salary? I mean, you can't do anything with COGCC. All you can do is apply some mitigation to extraction. I mean, that's kind of satisfying, I guess, because what are they doing with this as their business model in the first place? But that's what we can.
So you weren't seeking compensatory damages of any kind? Dawn Stein wasn't asking for compensatory damages in that count?
She ended up getting a not substantial agreement with the city of Greeley for a lifetime estate on her property. So she will be able to live there through all her natural life, and then it will revert to the city, but it's not what she should have done. The city didn't play a very good role in this one. Bad guys everywhere.
Question over here? Just.
Okay, I'll use my teacher voice. So Patricia, I'm sure that some were surprised to hear that you were the only parent at Bella Romero that's active in trying to raise awareness about the proposed wells and opposing them. So Megan and Patricia, I wanted to ask you, since this has really become a site that people already involved in this issue for the most part have been focusing on through the lawsuit, but they don't necessarily live in this neighborhood. What do you see as kind of avenues forward in terms of continuing to raise awareness? And then maybe in relation to the lawsuit, which is trying to stop the drilling from ever happening, I mean, how does that factor into kind of an overall goal of some groups in Greeley and concerned residents for not having these wells drilled?
Well, I was told, I guess, my comment saying that I'm the only parent, not necessarily true. There were Sierra clubs collecting signatures from parents around the neighborhood. But the thing is no other parents I've seen are showing up to the meetings. No parents are showing up to the COGCC meetings. I understand that that's difficult, but the real important thing is to show up. I have my sister, I have 2 cousins that have children at the Fort campus. I don't understand their hesitation, but my goal is just to convince as many parents to show up, because you may not have to say anything, but there is power in numbers. So, really what I want to do is just to, I'm just going to keep talking to people, talk to people that have kids that go to this school and, just ask them to show up. And like I've told my sisters and my cousins, you guys don't have to say anything. Like, let me do the talking if you want me to, but just show up. And that's, like Joe was saying, we have to rally. You know, we have to defend our children because they don't have a voice. And, you know, as parents, I feel like it's very important to lead by example.
I would like to add to that too. Patricia and I were just talking earlier about this actually. I think sometimes this is a question we get asked a lot by people coming in from the outside. Well, why aren't there more parents? A lot of these parents, you know, like Patricia mentioned earlier, there might be some undocumented people that work in the industry. But also another thing, it's hard for some of these families to show up to these meetings if they're working multiple jobs to provide for their families, and that's the case with a lot of these families. So I think a key thing is going to be keeping the momentum that we have with the groups that we have, and maybe showing these parents that they do have support, because as Patricia mentioned in numbers, you know, maybe they'll feel a little safer to come out if they see their neighbors coming out, or even neighboring counties, and some of you are from Fort Collins, and I think sometimes just seeing that support helps people a little bit more to come forward.
So on a social justice side of it, it seems like if we keep enforcing these regulations and keep trying to get regulations passed, they find these loopholes to be able to push them to a different site, which winds up negatively affecting the lower socioeconomic demographic of usually our state and across the U.S. So how can we go about getting regulations in place that are fair and balanced, that protect everyone of the population, versus, all right, we have the political clout, we have the money, let's not let it happen here, let's let it happen somewhere else. What would you suggest as a group or a coalition to make those kind of changes?
Go and vote. You need to get representatives that are representing, that really, no, I'm serious, you know, we just have so many people, you know, a lot more people are turning out to run for these offices, you know, because everybody's just getting tired. So my suggestion is go out and vote for the people that you believe in.
Does anyone else, we have a few minutes left, I think. Does anyone else feel like they have something to contribute, some share to a question or a comment? Yes, ma'am.
I know I got your attention earlier on the bus ride, but Greeley Indivisible is having a networking partnership potluck Wednesday, November 15th, where we are trying to gather together, meet, greet, eat, socialize, give you a mic for 3 minutes to make your spiel about something, but mainly because we want to build a coalition to develop power. Greeley Indivisible is committed. We're changing our meeting night from Tuesday to Wednesday night so that we can go to the city council. Warm bodies, just sit there, listen, write to the newspaper often. They won't print every time you write, but go ahead and write. Complain about lack of ethics when you see it in so-called professional newspaper reporting. Editorial page is where they may have an opinion, but when they call a straight news story on the front page, they call it straight news, but it's highly biased against certain people, and they do it over and over and over. If you're not mad yet, get mad. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be angry, but channel that anger into real action, because once we get real familiar with hearing about city council, on to the county commissioner, on to the county council. If we're not happy with these people, we're going to help replace them. If you don't think Greeley can be flipped, Colorado Springs, thank you very much for the inspiration. It can be done. Greeley can do it, and we have neighbors that want to also come in and help. So that, I'm just saying, we can do it, but we must get together. We must build a coalition to build our power, because if you want oil and gas to go away, we're going to have a lot of people going for the combination of let's sue them, let's sue their deep pockets. I'd like to see every child and person who can't afford an asthma medication, oil and gas, pay for it every month, year after year, until they clear out of here. There's one way of attacking them. You can do it with a coalition of people. You start writing the letters, you get the lawyers interested. We can do it, so that's my spiel. I went over 3 minutes, I apologize.